Hey everybody, it's Motivational Monday with the Greg. How you doing today? I hope everybody's doing great. It is Monday. It's time to get some meat and potato. It's time to get some substance for the week. Hey, could be a long one. Who knows? Curveballs left and right, but you're swinging every day, right? You got to swing. Don't bunt, swing. Swing. Do not bunt. You know what I mean? So yes, it's time to get your weather together. That's what we're working on. And today's message is on self-worth. Self-worth. Your net worth is determined by your self-worth. Your net worth is determined by your self-worth. The five people that you hang around with, snap, crackle, and pop, the three musketeers, that's as much money as you'll make. They say as much money as you make is the people that you hang around with. That you'll never go above that. So it's important to know, if you're going to be trying to make some money, if you're trying to increase your net worth and your self-worth, you might want to think about who you're hanging around with. That's very important. I've done changed some friends in the past. I've done walked away. If they weren't adding, they were subtracting. If they were talking negative all the time and gossiping, I didn't need it. I'm mindful every day not to be gossiping. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's so easy to be negative. Matter of fact, I'm going to read what I think I posted this morning. If you're not following me on Instagram, you should. I posted this morning on IG on my story. I think it's a pretty good one about this topic right here. Well, let's get to it. You have a choice to be happy. You have to choose to be happy. Because it doesn't seem that you have a choice to be negative. It's like you wake up, the negativity's there, man. Everything's there. And so you don't really need it. And that's the other thing. People wake up and the first thing they do is look at their phone for the first 30 minutes. Come on, man. That is the worst thing. Especially on the news and all the garbage. We have to choose. We have to choose today to be happy. To be positive. Because everything else is going to tell you to be negative right away, right from the get-go. So that's why Monday morning with Motivation with Greg is so important. We got to get it right from the get-go. We got to start your week out right. I think the two things that make up a person's self-worth is their confidence and their self-esteem. And I had issues in here. I'm gonna bare my soul on this YouTube channel. I'm gonna bare my soul. I had issues with this. I was always told growing up that I was a very confident man. I had a girl tell me, "Oh, I fell in love with you because you're confident. You were so confident." But see, what I didn't know, and she didn't know, is I had real low self-esteem. They're two different things. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I love myself. I don't have low self-esteem issues." Bullshit. This message is really for you then. I did. And I overcompensated it with more confidence. That's what we do. When we're lacking in one area, we overcompensate in another area. And then a certain part of our body, if you don't start to address it, it really starts to become dormant, or atrophy sets in. So that's important that, you're working and understanding that these are two different things. Confidence is one thing. Self-esteem is totally another thing. How much do you love yourself? How much do you love yourself? Do you love yourself enough to say no, like I was talking about last week? Or are you always saying yes because you can't say no? Do you love yourself so much that you keep doing that thing that you shouldn't be doing? Or the people you be hanging around with? Same old friends? I have friends for a lifetime too, but man, come on, man. You need some new people. You need some new people, new information. And you're getting that today. So keep tuning in. That's one way. We're going to talk about the mission statement before we get off air here. But really, there's a great podcast I did. It's on Spotify, How to Seduce Yourself. This really tackles and talks about that self-esteem issue in this podcast. How to better take care of your body, things of that nature. So you can look at that person in the mirror and be happy with that person. instead of beating yourself up and hearing that little voice in your head. I always call that voice the voice of the saboteur. I think I heard it said with Zan Perion, wrote the book, The Alabaster Girl. I read that. It was a really good book. And Zan said that when we're in the age of 5, when the teacher asks us who's the best drawer in the class, we're all, ooh, 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 ooh. I am. We're all excited, But then by 7, we look over and see Susie, she's drawing, and we make a comparison. And when the teacher asks who's the best drawer in the class, well, we don't raise our hand because that voice starts to play. It starts to kick in about the age of 7 or so. The voice of the saboteur. And to understand this voice, this isn't your voice. It's all the bullshit from the past. That's what that voice is. So we need to seduce ourselves. We need to fall in love with ourselves. We need to be happy with the person in the mirror. And that is it's anything like in life. It's a lifelong journey. It isn't overnight. Nothing happens overnight. But you got to be persistent. You got to have that, I guess that's why I love a bull. That's my spirit animal, a bull. It's got that tenacity. You stab a bull, it keeps coming at you. It don't run the other way. and I like that. I like that you can't give in. You can't give up. And if you're listening to this and have been listening to every Monday, I commend you because you're not giving in and giving up. But How to Seduce Yourself podcast on Spotify. Check it out. I go by The Guru on the podcast there. The Guru on my podcast show. But and someday I'll tie it all together here. But right now, belief in yourself is very important. It's very important. You have to have a mental attitude that something is true. That something is true. You got to believe in yourself. You got to know that you're as cool as the other side of your pillow. It's like the guy that invented the plastic worm. I love this story. He became a millionaire and became a motivational speaker. And in speaking to people, he would tell them, had nothing to do with the worm. How many fish you could catch with this worm, because it became very popular and people were catching a lot of fish. Had nothing to do. It's what the belief in the worm and the belief in yourself. Do you believe you're a good fisherman? Because if you believe you're a good fisherman, you're going to catch a lot of fish. If you don't think you're a good fisherman, you're probably not going to catch as many fish. And if you believe in the bait, that's why some people spit on the worm, I guess. Just bring it good luck. There is that kind of energy, that luck. You got to put a little luck on some things like that. Spit on the worm. Say, God bless this worm. Holy water, right? This is holy water, isn't it? Think about it. And our body is made up of how much water? 80%? I think men have like 70, women I think children have the most. We were birthed out of water. Everything is water. By the way, I never, ever throw my water bottle away without first pouring out whatever water may be existing in there. If it may be sitting in my car or something like that for a day. It's life. It's a life force. That's just me. A little side note. But the fishing story. I love the fishing story. Because it made me think about how I experienced fishing for the first time. And how painful it was. And how I didn't want that to be passed on to the next generation. So I take my grandkids down to this little, up at the lake where we go to, there's a little bridge and, just a little pond, catching pond there. And there's all kinds of baby bluegills in there. And you put the right size hook on, and which I had to learn. They catch all kinds of bluegill. They catch all kinds. And it's their first time, their first experience. You wouldn't believe. My grandson looked at me and he says, Papa, this is the best day of my life. I remember that just like it was yesterday. So we walk, he's got a bucket full of bluegills he gets to play with, and then we catch and release. But still, I wanted their first experience to be a good experience, that they believe that they can catch fish. And they experience that, because belief is everything, isn't it? Belief is everything. Belief in oneself is paramount to success. Do you believe in yourself? Do you believe in your self-worth? Do you believe you are worthy to have it all? You know, a lot of people have receiving issues. They have receiving issues. They're good to give. They say America is the biggest giving country in the world. Something goes on, some kind of devastation here or hurricane or whatever. People will jump in, give, support 100%. But we don't know how to receive. We need to turn our receiving button on. I used to go, I did this little thing when I go to restaurants. After people would serve me, I would ask them, so how much do you think your tip should be? You know, it's amazing how some people like, no, that whatever. It's just whatever. I don't care. You know what I mean? They don't know. I did have a girl one time though tell me I wanted $200, and she had been waiting on me. It's a long story, but I guess I'll throw it in there. I was going to a Korean restaurant, and I never experienced Korean food, so I started going to this Korean restaurant, and I went there about 10, 12 times, and I tipped her a little bit every time. But I had just read about this, experiencing, how people can't turn on their receiver button. And I was testing the grounds when I would go out to restaurants. And I had been going to her restaurant, and she kept the menu. She would write on little notes for me, and then the next week I would have it, and I would know what I liked and what I didn't like, what I hadn't tried, what I had tried. So it was a whole, I wanted to experience Korean food. And so she said $200. And I reached in my pocket and I gave her the $200. Come to find out, I bumped into her months later at a bar. She said she got fired. She quit the job that night because the owner wanted the other half. I said, OMG, isn't that something? She goes, yes, he insisted that she got half of it. And I said, no, that was you. That was you serving me. That was you serving me. And you know what? He had signs of Jesus all over the building too. Come on, man. It's what's in your heart. But it's hard to receive. That was beautiful that she was able to step forth. And I knew, asking people the question, that I might get somebody that really knew their self-worth. And that I stopped asking that question afterwards. $200 is a lot. But needless to say, oh my God, that's funny. Really, it was a good little, I just wanted to test it and see where it was. And you're right, people, they want to give, but they don't want to receive. And it's good to give, but you got to turn on that receiver button. You got to turn on that receiver button. You got to start believing yourself, that you want more. You want to become more. You want to become more. What's your vision? What's your vision? Are you one of those that get up and look at your phone first thing? How about turning off the phone and getting a vision? Something that you're passionate about. Think about it. The Super Bowl commercials are $8 million a commercial. What are they paying that much money for? For your attention. They want your attention. I want your attention too, but I want it for a good reason. They want it to control you. $8 million for your attention, to get your attention. Turn the damn thing off. Turn it off. Sit down and contemplate your life. Get a vision for your life. Be about your business. Be that business athlete. I mean, it was amazing. I seen in the World Cup that Egypt got, just the headlines a little bit. And I do like sports. I watch a lot of sports. And but I understand that none of it's, you can't gamble on it. You're stupid if you're gambling on it, man. It's all a joke. Egypt got, over something about the soccer. They weren't happy about the outcome and the refs and stuff like that. And, but I think about all that money they spend on these commercials to captivate your mind. And people are just, buying into it. The gambling now is I don't know. I'm sure a lot of it's going on. But I want to end with talking about business athlete. You're a business athlete. You see those pros play every week. Turn the TV off and play like a pro. And I just want to read our mission statement here. A person practices the art of adventure when he breaks the chain of routine and renews his life through reading new books, traveling to new places, making new friends, taking up new hobbies, and adopting a new viewpoint. If you do those things, you will adopt a new viewpoint. Traveling is everything. The people you hang around with is everything. You know? So that's the word for this week. Meat and potato. You know? It's kind of like food for thought. You do the dishes. You know? Oh, I think I just want to throw this in last here. The way people think about money. You know? Like, they say the poor, and I'm not trying to make fun of anybody here. You know? The poor think about money day to day. They need money day to day. You know, middle class people are week to week about money. Wealthy people are year to year about money. But opulent people, they're decade to decade. They're thinking way ahead of the game. See, are you so programmed that you're not even thinking ahead of the game? You know? This is called the game of life. What's your future look like? Hey, Motivational Monday with the Greg. Meat and potato. Love you much. See you next week. Ciao.